Good morning and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show with myself, Stephen Brown, and joining me, Jason Booker, here to discuss all things Leeds United, including looking at the fallout from the Newcastle game, the Perri debate, FA Cup preview, Ellen Road redevelopment, lots and lots to get through. Thank you for your comments already flying in. Get your likes on the video, get subscribed to the channel. We should mention as well, as Gav puts here, legend Terry Yorathme, rest in peace, absolutely. Yeah, huge figure, passed away, sadly. Condolences to his family. Especially as where the West Yorkshire Football Show, we've got Huddersfield Town content, we've got Bradford City content, and I can't think of many other figures of his level that have kind of represented all three and had such an impact in that way. So condolences with his family there. Okay, Jay, a couple of days on then from that other night, the one that we won't speak about. But no, seriously, 4-3 loss. It was the end of the unbeaten streak. A couple of days later, how are you? How have you processed it? Are you kind of not over it, but have you kind of dealt with it emotionally and ready to move on?
Yeah, I mean, directly in the group thereafter, we had a little bit of back and forward, didn't we? Between me, you, Lou, other boys got involved as well. Some of it were, I think, fair. I've kind of come to digest. So, I've had my moan yesterday about the penalty. When I've really analysed it again, I think the Brendan penalty is extremely harsh. When I first saw it, I thought that Brendan had jumped with his arm outreached. When you actually watch it, he had his arms tucked in. His arms were
agrees with you.
Say again.
So do you know who agrees with that opinion? I was listening to the rest of his football podcast earlier today. Alan Shearer said exactly the same thing. He said there's nothing else he can do. Now, that's Alan Shearer, Newcastle stalwart.
The most biased opinion. Well, there it goes. And I mean, again, the problem is and this happens a lot on social media. It happens a lot in this stream. It happens a lot with other content creators. And I'm not digging anybody out, but the facts is that people are unable to be unemotional and remove the bias when they're kind of analysing decisions. If it's a penalty, I'll say it's a penalty. My initial reaction was it was a penalty. When I saw it back, I thought it wasn't. It's as simple as that. And there's nothing wrong with a Newcastle fan coming on and just saying, you know what, we probably got a little bit lucky there. You know what, Thou should have been sent off. I mean, I've had people arguing that it weren't a penalty. Come on, let's not do this. And I think most of my frustration with the other night was in them moments. They just didn't fall for us, as they've not really fallen for us over 20 games so far in the Premier League this season. Me and you have come on and said this time and time again. The unlucky own goals that we've had, the unlucky moments, Newcastle could have been down to 9 men at half time. Jack Grealish got sent off in the Everton game after Everton were down to 10 men, by the way. So the referee was completely brutal and just dealt with the situation as it was. Jack Grealish gets fouled in his own half and claps the referee sarcastically, which he gets a second yellow. Joe Linton did exactly the same thing after being booked. I mean, his protests to the dive, again, he should have been booked for that. So it's just these moments, I suppose, that I'm frustrated with. And, the game, the way that it kind of gets away from us and we get nothing is gutting. But overall, I'm able to digest it in a way of, it's still only one game. If we'd have lost that game 1-0, it'd have been exactly the same. And I didn't expect us to go there and get anything. And what I did see was a team, again, really committed with 3 games in 6 days or 7 days or whatever it was, that gave absolutely everything, that were capable of matching up with an opposition that's far better than us. Away from home, the atmosphere was absolutely banging. It's Ellen Road, midweek, under the lights kind of vibe. It was probably up on that because of the way that the first half ended. They were just ferocious. That's what we needed the game to be against Manchester United, really. But 12:30 on a Sunday, you're never going to get that. So the team still applied themselves in such a great way. And the same things that I was saying before the Manchester City game about most of the performances, not all of them, apply to the same against Newcastle. The same logic applies. So I don't see that as being a negative for the rest of the season. I see it as being quite an encouraging thing that we can go there and perform like that away from home against a good side.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was funny because the Wednesday night I couldn't sleep. I just could not get to sleep. It was one of those, I was just lying in bed. It was like, it must have been that I looked at my phone at one point. It was like 2:30, and I'm thinking, God, I'm up in 4 hours, and then I'm looking again. It's 3:30. I'm like, oh, it just so kind of.
We didn't come off this until 11:15.
Yes, yeah. So you just kind of, you're all over the shop, and the morning after, you're a bit grumpy about it like this. But then it kind of dawned on me. I was like, it's actually nice to kind of, we've had a loss, horrible the way it's happened, so gut wrenching, but it's kind of nice that it's just in of itself. It's not like, oh, we're in the bottom 3 and we can't win a game and we can't pick up points and we're struggling, and it's not that horrible feeling of like it's adding to the full picture of just an awful season. It's kind of the way we played, the way we approached that game. I agree with you completely. And this surprised me at Anfield at Liverpool with how resolute they were. I thought we were going to lose that game. I thought this run of 3 games was going to be maybe a bridge too far for us. And they've defied that expectation every single time. And for me, really the other night, I would say we were the better team overall. And like you say, those moments have just not gone for us. It's just not falling into place. And you've said, oh, it's not really been like that in the Premier League. I argue for Farke's entire. I feel like we've come on so many times and just very rarely. You remember Ipswich that year, they went up and every week watching their goals bouncing off someone's ass, and you're like, why do we never get that? It's kind of a theme, but it's
so hard work on it.
But it's just nice to look. We've still got the 8 points. We're still, in such a strong position, and I've been able to kind of just close the door. And it's gutted didn't get the result, but it's nice to not have that feeling that we did, particularly, last time we got relegated, where it's like, oh, another hammer blow.
Well, outside of the Arsenal game, we have been really competitive, and the Brighton game. I'm going to say the Brighton game as well. Outside of them 2 games, we've been extremely competitive in pretty much every single game that we've played. And I think the frustration with a game like this comes when we know we're still within a relegation battle. You can't even really it's hard to take the emotion away from losing the points in the manner that we did, because we know if we go down, let's just say we come the end of the season and we've gone down, we're going to look at Newcastle away, we're going to look at Fulham away, we're going to look at Spurs at home. All these games that we've said we've had moments in and we should have got X point and we're going to look at that last minute equaliser from Bournemouth. All of them moments then add up, and that that's the case. If we get to the end of the season and we look back and we've stayed up, we're going to look at this game with probably a little bit of fondness attached to it. Yeah. Because the performance was good, because Brendan Aronson scored twice, because we took it to them in the way that we did. All of them things then will matter in the way that they should, but you can't always apply that same logic and intelligence and emotion to it, because we know that them points could cost us. That's still the position that we're in at the minute. But you're right in terms of the Liverpool and Newcastle games. Like, let's be fair, Newcastle and Liverpool away, if we got offered 1 point out of them 2 games before a ball was kicked, we'd have taken it, and you should have taken it. Yeah, and that's what we've got. So
100%. Absolutely. And a couple of things, and obviously it touches on what you're talking about there, and not getting the points we had. You dropped a stat in the group yesterday, and I was like, I couldn't believe it. So it's 13 points we've dropped from winning positions.
Yeah.
We've also conceded the most goals, plus 90. Now, normally when a team has those kind of stats, you think, they might be in trouble in the league position. But actually, you look at Leeds and we're in a strong position, albeit 16th. But I really look at that and go, it does feel like we're better than 16th. In terms of what we've seen so far, I really do feel you're talking about beating Chelsea, you talk about going to Anfield, you're talking about outplaying Newcastle at St James's Park. I feel like our performances, I'm not saying the squad or the technical level of the players is above 16, but I feel our performances and the way we've gone about this season, the way we've performed, like you say, a couple games at most that we've really been out of them, I feel like we should be much higher in the league. And you look at those goal concessions post 90 plus minutes and those dropped points, you think, wow, I mean, it'd be kind of interesting to know where we could have found ourselves if, a little bit more of that had gone for us. Now, is that just a weakness in our team? Does that point to tactical issues, maybe we haven't got the quality off the bench or game management. What do you think's happening there? Or is it just bad luck or kind of a combination of all those?
I think it might be a little bit of bad luck, but I genuinely think that us and Sunderland are the wrong way around in terms of points.
Yeah,
I really do. Like, and I know that's going to be like, if a Sunderland fan came on and heard me say that, they'd absolutely lose their mind. But the stats actually back it up. I'm not just winging something out there. And I've watched a lot of Sunderland, and I've watched every single game that Leeds have played this season. That is how I genuinely feel about it. I think we're probably 6 to 8 points off where we actually deserve to be. And I think they're about 6 to 8 points better off than where they actually deserve to be. But one thing that they really do have that we don't, which is then kind of comes into answering your question. We'll come to the goalkeeper because I've just seen Paul's comment. It definitely the goalkeeper is definitely part of it, but I actually think there's a bigger part of it than that. And I think it's experience. And you talk about these moments, you know, conceding after 90 minutes, winning, losing points from winning positions. You look at our team, and our team is extremely young. It's very, very naive, and inexperience doesn't always mean being 19 or 20. You know, our captain and our biggest leader is 25 in Ethan Ampadu. That's still really a baby. And and I love Ethan Ampadu. I'm not bashing Ethan Ampadu, but in comparison to Ethan Ampadu at Sunderland, you have Granit Xhaka, who's been to 3 World Cups, 4 World Cups, whatever he's been to. He's won the Bundesliga. He's played for Arsenal. He's played for the Champions League. He's gone through the career that he's gone through, the ups and downs and everything in between. Like, that has got so much importance in them. Like Sunderland away as an example. We deserve to win that game. But they didn't concede late on. They wrestled control of the game back and saw the game, the last 5 minutes, out on top. Whereas if that had been at Ellen Road and the other way around, would we have had the kind of maturity and the experience to deal with that in the same way? And would we have potentially lost that game? Yeah. It's them moments that matter to a team like Sunderland. So they are where they are on merit. Like they are. All I'm saying is the performances don't always back that up. But in terms of the performances are bigger than that. And that's why players like Granit Xhaka don't ever get the credit that they deserve. Jordan Henderson's don't get the credit they deserve. In our team, we've got a couple of them as well. You know, Ilya Gruev, and I know Gruev might not have been the exact kind of look of that the other night against Newcastle because the game got so crazy. But there's credit for why he's part of the team being successful and why he comes on in certain areas of the game, even though technically he doesn't look as great as maybe some other players. You know, so
I just wonder. Yeah, I think it's a great point, and I just wonder if we'd have had a fit Sean Longstaff able to come on in that last 10 minutes. You know, could that have made the difference that saw it through? Because I don't want to. I hate scapegoating players and picking on players or anything like that. But I thought, you know, Nonto comes on again and he's a bit loose and wayward, you know, and he's spooning clearances and stuff. And like you say, you've got a young kid and, you know, that experience, seeing out a game, you know, it's one of them. And, you know, hopefully that's something we can improve on.
I think it's a great point. I mean, you know, when he makes some changes, I can't remember, because the game went so mad late on, it's hard to kind of identify exactly when they came on. But I think Tanaka and Nonto came on at about 92, 93, something like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, everybody was screaming blue murder for Tanaka to start games after the 11-minute cameo against Manchester United. And I'm like, look, it's context of the game. We're at home. We've brought 5 attackers on. He's going to look really good at that point in that game because they were more content with not losing. Yeah. At Newcastle away, I mean, he got swallowed up. He got absolutely swallowed up, but nobody's talking about it. And nobody's now kind of critiquing that because they like Tanaka. Yeah, like, and you've got to try and be as fair as you possibly can be across the whole analysis, not just when it suits your kind of preconceived agenda to the situation. And you spot on, like, Sean Longstaff wouldn't have looked as great in that role maybe at that time in terms of what he would do on the ball, but in terms of what he could give the whole team, the concentration, the experience, the maturity, the leadership, it could have been invaluable. And maybe he just wasn't ready for it. I don't know, you know. That's the only critique I've got of the Newcastle game, was the lack of control that we kind of were able to put on the game. But sometimes you just have to say, fair play. Like, the place was mental. I mean, watching it on TV, you could hear just how raucous it was. And at that stage of the game, who's that going to benefit? It's going to benefit the home team that's got more energy, that's got more quality.
Yeah, and Newcastle as well. The way they play under Howe, it's like punch you in the face football, isn't it? It's hard, it's direct, it's crosses. It's not, they don't mess about. When they get into that kind of flow state. So yeah, really good points. Let's get to some of your comments then, and then we're going to move on to talking about the goalkeeper. Paul here, seeing the goalkeeper table, Sunderland is top, ours is bottom. We cannot afford to carry a substandard goalkeeper. We are hopefully looking for a loan for a goalkeeper, pushing to be in the World Cup, not getting game time. Gav called out again yesterday by Farker in the presser, clearly not happy. Just want to mention this as well, Michael. Thanks for your comment, mate. It's an unusual early start for you guys. Okay, so we either do Thursday or Friday mornings at 11, so we've normally got a show. So yeah, hit the notification bell, mate.
Yeah, come and see it more often, Michael. Come on.
Yeah. Skip, think the meltdown from some fans about who's to blame, but ultimately we will have games like that. Yeah, we would have snapped your hand off for 8 points clear at this stage. Indeed. Let's have a look at the goalkeeper situation then. Farker, it's been an interesting kind of time looking at what Farker's had to say about this, because we know how Farker was staunch in his defence of Meslier last season, and even when there were clear errors, he was still kind of back to him. We never really kind of acknowledged the errors until right at the end. So what he had to say on Perri was it was definitely a situation where you should save the ball. I can't lie and pretend that it would be a different scenario, because otherwise you wouldn't believe me anymore. In this moment, sadly, I can't protect him from the criticism that he should have saved it. Now, where I'm at with this, I was thinking about this a lot yesterday, and I'm trying to get straight on it, because I don't look at how Perry's performed this season, and I'm not going to suddenly sit here and flip-flop. We've come on stream after stream and have not really had that much to say about Perri, because there's not been glaring issues. We've acknowledged some of the criticism, when people have talked about his kicking, which I don't particularly have a problem with. What I would say, though, is I have concerns. Now, the biggest concern I'm seeing at the moment is I feel there's a slight confidence issue, or I feel as if I don't look at Perri and feel 100% secure in my goalkeeper. And what's really driving that more than anything is what he's doing positionally on the pitch and how slow he is to react to stuff. And I was looking, compilations that people put together on the internet can be very, very biased. But there were a few earlier in the season where you look at his positioning and the way he approached goals that ended up happening. You go, that's not great goalkeeping. So I do have my concerns. I'm not going to change my mind either. I didn't think the fourth goal on Wednesday, I said it at the time, I didn't look at that goal. That's a goalkeeping error. So I'm not going to flip-flop on that. But I think generally, I'm not blown away by Perri. And there's no doubt in it, Jim. He's got the lowest save percentage in the league. Sunderland's keeper is the top. Now, if you switch those two, it'd be interesting to see where we would be at. And maybe that is part of that difference we talked about earlier. And I think, again, why it's frustrating, because we had this last year with Meslier, where he was bottom of save percentages. And you're just thinking, Christ, we barely teams barely have a chance against us. It's like if he had 20% better save percentage, we'd have won the championship by 30 points last season. You come into this season, if Perri has another 15%, 20% save percentage, we could be, mid-table or something. Now, obviously, games not played on spreadsheets, and it doesn't always marry up, and stats can be misleading, but yeah, I've rambled on. I mean, where are you at with Perri? Have you got concerns? Do you understand the fears around him, or do you think, look, he just needs more time, more backing, and he can still get to a position where he can nail down being our keeper for the foreseeable?
I think there's concerns. I understand the concerns. I think they're wildly over-egged. I think he's just a nice kind of scapegoat at the minute. He's just I've been having the same debate with people about Brendan Aronson for 2 years. He starts, he scores a couple of goals and gets a couple of assists, and all of a sudden he's amazing. And it's like, no. And don't get me wrong, there's certain things within his performances that have improved as well. but he's actually not playing that much better than what he has done for the last 2 years. It's just you don't understand the game outside of the ball goes in the back of the net, goal, yay, and the ball doesn't, and it's boo. You know, like that's it, and that's how I see it. And I know that makes me a patronising prick. Like I get that, I understand that, and I understand. Like I almost kind of envy fans watching the game in that way because they can just enjoy it for the ball moving around. I don't see the game like that because I like to understand the intricacies of it. I actually try and appreciate what players bring and what they don't bring. And that don't mean that I don't then scrutinise players when I see them playing badly either. You know my opinions on Pascal Struijk as an example. Like, and everybody in this chat will know that as well. And sometimes my opinions will be wrong and sometimes my opinions will be right, but I will have a concrete kind of evidence to back up what I'm saying. And I will kind of usually stand on the opinion until the player proves me otherwise.
Yeah.
Good and bad. And Pascal has kind of done some of that this season. But, you know, it's funny because you mentioned them highlight reels. You watch them highlight reels and nearly all of our goals that are on them highlight reels come down our left side. Yeah. Like, you know, and the goalkeeper is the last line of defence. The last line of defence. And if it's getting to him, there's been mistakes somewhere else in the team beforehand, usually. My biggest problem with Illan Meslier was the fact that every shot that went towards him flew in.
Yeah.
It didn't even have to be bad defending. It usually were coming from 25, 30 yards out and going in. Every shot went in. Now, Perri's not that. He's not. Like, I mean, there's been people that have been saying that Meslier should be put back in. Like, come on now. Let's be it. Let's be it.
I saw one, I saw one familiar. I was like, give up.
I agree with you on the kicking. I think the kicking is largely okay. He lofts it a little bit more than I would like, but I think some of that might even be intentional because it gives Calvert-Lewin longer to kind of get to that zone of the pitch and then flick it on. You'll have a look at how much Dominic Calvert-Lewin wins. They can't be that bad, and we go long a lot now. We are far more direct. So, you know, even if I had Kevin De Bruyne in the net, when he's under pressure and he's been asked to kick long 70, 80 yards every single time, he's going to misplay some of them.
Yeah. And
this is a goalkeeper. Like you're talking Edison to have to be pinpoint every single time. Most keepers don't. Again, the problem with this is most fans don't watch other teams like they watch Leeds United. They'll watch the highlights, is number one, and they won't watch it with the same level of focus. So they're not seeing Martin Dubravka kick the ball 70 times over a 90-minute period. They're seeing it maybe once, if at all. They're probably not even focusing on it. So I don't think that they then analyse his kicking the same as a normal Premier League goalkeeper. Am I making sense?
Yeah. And I agree, like, for the record, on the kicking debate.
I think a lot of people say that he flaps at corners and so. I don't see that. I think he gets his hand to most of them. He punches quite a lot. People
are saying they're starting to target him. So it was noticed in the Man United game that they were kind of crowding Perri out. So there's a feeling amongst some fans that maybe Perri is now being targeted.
But Manchester United do that against every team.
Yeah.
Manchester United are the second highest goal scorers from corners after us, or first, and we're second. Yeah. They were definitely, we were the top two. So this is kind of my point. Like, they're targeting Perri without watching Manchester United deliver corners over the previous 18 games. Yeah. The corner deliveries were excellent. They were right on the 6-yard box every single time, and we didn't concede from one.
No.
In fact, the one big chance that they did have from a corner, Lucas Perri made a wonder save. Now, some fans that have got the agenda will say, well, it was straight at him. It's still a massive reaction from the ball being flicked 4 yards away from you at a different trajectory to get your hand up and tip it over the bar. Like, all I'm saying, I'm not saying that there's not concerns with Lucas Perri. Of course there is. I'm not blind. But you have to be fair with the analysis around what you're talking about. You know, it's far too easy to come on and just say he's kicking shit without actually knowing what a Premier League keeper should kick like.
So where is your kind of concerns based, and what are you, when you watch Perri, where does your kind of concerns base with him?
My big concerns are positional and coming out from his goal line. They're my big concerns. Like, if ever you've played in goal yourself, unless you're constantly checking where the goal is behind you, it's really easy to kind of come away from the centre of your goal. Even in like small goals, it can be really, really difficult sometimes. And you look around and you're like, oh, holy shit, I'm like 3 yards over to the left-hand post or whatever. He's got a little bit of that about him. The Manchester United goal, I were a little bit in the middle with it because I thought the pass weight was good. I thought there was some real defensive issues in it. And again, I think the pass makes him get caught in no man's land. However, his positional angle when it was running out was far too towards his left. Yeah. He wasn't central. If he'd have been central, he'd have saved it. The ball would have probably just hit him, but he'd come away from the correct angle that he should have been at. He doesn't make great decisions when to come and to go. We spoke about the Yacobiol one. I mean, again, that kind of doesn't get mentioned because it didn't end in a goal. Yaka deals with it brilliantly. And if he doesn't, him and Perri smash.
See, I'm more worried about that stuff.
Yeah. I am.
The stuff that worries me more than, the some of the other stuff. I'm more worried about that. But what I will say is I watched the first half of Arsenal-Liverpool last night, and David Raya does the same thing. So Saliba's coming over and Saliba kind of knocks it back and Raya's right there and has to kind of flap and kick it out. And you're like, well, that's David Raya.
This is what I'm talking about, though. Like, it's the hardest position on the pitch to play. That's the number one thing. When you're a team that are down towards the bottom, you're going to be called upon much more often. So David Raya is a great goalkeeper, right? Yeah. But that's one moment out of maybe 2 or 3 over the whole 90 minutes because he's Arsenal's goalkeeper. Whereas Lucas Perri is going to have to do maybe 20 of them over 90 minutes. You go and watch West Ham. Ariola's a pretty established Premier League keeper. Lucas Perri is better than him. He's better than Dubravka. He might not be as good of a shot stopper, but he's a better overall keeper than Dubravka. He's a better goalkeeper than Sarr, who's been a Premier League goalkeeper for years. I mean, Sarr's been in and out with Sam Johnson all season. Yeah. He constantly keeps on making boo-boos as well. Keepers make mistakes. It's just trying to limit them as much as possible, playing into his skills as good as possible. The people, I can see Paul's comment about Darlow as well, and I know the people you're rewriting history. You're rewriting a narrative that suits this kind of panic that you're having about Lucas Perri. He's not it. He's not outside of a few games in the Championship where he did pretty much nothing, because we didn't have to do much as a goalkeeper. He did better than Meslier, and it was the right choice to make. It absolutely was, but he didn't do very much. And we've seen him make massive rickets. Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, the last performance he makes, Browney.
Well, there was a game he came in, I think, straight after Perri got injured, and he did okay to well. It was like, oh, that was fine. But then slowly, week on week, it seemed to be getting worse with Darlow in net. With just everything getting hit was going in, and he's no good with his feet either. His kicking's no good, and so for me, Darlow is absolutely not. And I don't want to see Darlow back in permanently at all.
You're right. So remember, it was the second goal against Bournemouth. Now it was never identified as being a keeper issue because of the nature of the goal. But if you watch it, I think a keeper should save that. But Darlow's not getting the intense light put on him because he's recognised as the number 2 or number 3 goalkeeper at Leeds. Whereas if that had been Perri that had let that in, he'd have got a blazing ray of sunshine on him. It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one, and you have to be really delicate with goalkeepers. Really, really delicate with them. It's not easy to check, and that's why Farke was so against changing him last season, so against changing Meslier, because he understood the landscapes of what it meant. Subtle things like passing it back to Meslier as opposed to passing it back to Darlow, right and left-footed. Meslier was very good at coming out and dealing with them counter-attacking kind of chances that teams would get. We played really high up the pitch, so it made sense to have a quick goalkeeper that was good off his line.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? Whereas Darlow, no.
100%. I think as well, like you say, you have to be really careful with keepers, and I think it must be horrible because I remember I was thinking about this a few days ago actually with the keeper stuff, and I remember going into the playoff final thinking, Melier's the weak link here. Melier, if they, and Melier was brilliant in that playoff final. It was really good, and it was almost like a shame that he couldn't kind of get back to a level. But it's almost that thing with goalkeepers. Like as soon as you get into that thing of mistakes and the crowd and the pressure at Ellen Road, it's not like playing at Brentford, is it? It's not like playing at Bournemouth. You can almost sense like people's nervousness and that kind of anxiety, but you almost want to say to the fans, like, let's not make it worse for the goalkeepers. Let's not put more pressure on them.
Brownie, I've spent 3 years saying that. Again, I apply the same logic to Brendan Aronson. He's a confidence player, and we've been smashing his head into ground for 2 years. Poor lad, and the guy's been excellent, and he's given absolutely everything to Leeds. The other night, there were a clip doing the rounds of him chasing back with cramp, like basically hobbling, and he's the man that clears the ball. He runs the full length of the pitch and gets back, and he's the man that clears it. People just ignore that. They'd have seen the ball get cleared. They wouldn't have even realised it was Brendan and just go about the day, and it really, really does frustrate me. But, we have to, just coming back to the keeper thing, we have to be really careful with this. James Trafford, as an example, he's the easy go-to answer at the minute. And I mentioned him to you yesterday. Could we go and get him on loan? Blah, 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 blah. Now, Man City are a different beast. I get it, right? But James Trafford was brought in as their number one to replace Ederson. He comes in, he bombs.
Stinker.
And say again.
Stinker.
Yeah, he absolutely has a stinker. Yeah. And he's bombed out before the end of the transfer window, right? Now, I was just making the point about the style of play and the standards, right? So he had the season that he had at championship level. Burnley played a low block with one of the very best teams in the division. The shots that James Trafford were facing were often from outside the box. James Trafford wasn't needing to do the Ederson role and the now Donnarumma role of saving high potential chances from within his box. Does that make sense? Yeah. The level of chances that James Trafford was saving were often long range chances, and he's a fantastic shot stopper, but he wasn't what Man City needed, really. They bought him because of the buyback clause.
Yeah,
it made sense.
And James Trafford as well. The season before the championship season had howler after howler. There were loads.
He got replaced.
Howlers. Yeah,
he got replaced by Muric, who was awful. Who then went to Ipswich and was awful and got bombed out.
Yeah.
So we have to be really, really careful, because it seems like the easy solution. Oh, James Trafford, he was goalkeeper of the season last season. He'll be the best goalkeeper. He'll sort all the problems out. I would almost guarantee within 3 or 4 games, there'd be people on Twitter that'd be like, Trafford, eyes. Yeah, there'd be Trafford, eye emoji. Yeah, they would, wouldn't they? Is Trafford any better than Melier? Like that. I could see it. I can see it now.
So, it is amazing to me how quickly players get written off, and that first impression, how long that first impression sticks. Mm-hmm. It's like Aronson. I was watching someone, content creator, talk about Aronson, and said, yeah, brilliant game, but he still had moments of Aronson style moments, like that bit where we break down and Goodman's. I'm like, so are you expecting a player in the attacking third to be perfect every single time? Otherwise, they've not reached. Nonto, Ramazani, these players with favouritism hanging around. Yeah, Okafor. The lad drives me nuts. He's successful. Maybe he successfully gets a cross away. I would bet the percentage is lower than 50%.
Yeah, I agree.
I would bet his output in terms of getting a shot or a cross is less than 50%. Now, I like Okafor. He's an exciting player. But this standard that a player like Brendan's got to get, because of this whole, the history of it's wild.
There's an unconscious... There's loads of things applying it. I'm going to be trying to be careful with my words, but it's an unconscious xenophobia, agenda, bias... there's all sorts of things at play. Ramazani is a great example of this. He's a young, coloured, fluent, attacking, zingy winger with braids in his hair, and he looks a certain way, and he gets fans excited. I get it, right? I get it. But if he was called Jack Harrison, and looked like Jack Harrison, he would have been vilified by our fan base. Yeah. Absolutely butchered, in my opinion.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Now, I like some of his attributes, but that's the reality of the matter. And Brendan Aaronson's the reverse of that. And Brendan's got attached to him the fact that he's American. Jesse Marsh was American. We don't like all that kind of thing that went on at that time. He had a bad first season outside of the opening 5 or 6 weeks, and then he left on loan. He was considered one of the rats. Now, ultimately, everybody would have done exactly what Brendan Aronson did. But he's the only one that came back and actually made a significant impact and difference. That's the reality of the matter.
100%, 100%. And for me, Aronson this year is one of the player of the seasons. And by the way, I just did a quick Google search of Ramazani, in and out with injury, can't play, 1 assist, by the way.
Yeah.
Now, if that was any other player and it came to the January transfer market, who would be clamouring for a player that can't even get in a bottom half Valencia team with 1 assist?
They're talking about replacing him with Jack Harrison.
Yeah. That would be funny. Now, if that happens, that would be funny. That would be amazing. I would laugh at that.
I had unbelievable back and forward with somebody about Mateo Joseph the other day. And his argument for the fact that he should be here this season as opposed to Joel Perreault was the fact that he's on 2 goals and 2 assists playing on the right wing for Mallorca. And I'm like, what?
It's crazy.
You're not speaking any sort of intelligent language here. What are we doing?
It's crazy. It's absolutely bonkers. Honestly, it's mad. Good stuff. Okay. Well, let's have a look at other things as well. Obviously, we've got the FA Cup coming up, Jay. It's Derby County now. I've got to admit, now, the FA Cup, it's one of them, look, and I've said it, we've got other priorities. League's the priority, and that's the same as it has been, for the last few seasons. It's all about the league. And I've got to say, it's even less of a priority for me this season. I've got to be completely honest. I am just not looking at this game at all. It's just not landed on my radar at all. And look, if you get through a couple of rounds, then suddenly you're like, oh, then it gets kind of interesting. For me, it's an opportunity to get away from the league, switch off from the league, give minutes to other players, squad players, and then, get minutes in their legs and just give that, a lot of the stalwarts, I'd love to see Aronson rested. Let's give Brendan a few days off. Bloody hell, he deserves it, doesn't he? But I mean, what are your thoughts kind of going ahead to the Derby game?
Just before I come to the Derby game, can I just address the comment?
Yeah, I've just literally popped it up halfway through I was speaking, but I'll
just bring it up because I really, really don't. I'm just telling you some cold, hard facts, and it can be hard to hear. And I'm not actually really addressing the fans that are in the ground with this. However, I will just say there were boos towards Brendan Aronson coming on the pitch only 3 or 4 weeks ago. I heard them. So don't try and make this out like it doesn't exist. Don't gaslight me, because it's a reality. Brendan Aronson physically got booed onto the pitch only 3 or 4 weeks ago. Somebody will remind me of the game because it happened. I heard it. I wasn't at the game, but I was watching it on TV, and fans that were there told me it happened and were embarrassed. So don't try and do this. I'm not saying that you can't have legitimate concerns over X, Y, and Z, the goalkeeper. You can absolutely have legitimate concerns over the goalkeeper. I'm not saying don't. I'm telling you, listen to what I'm saying, Paul. I'm telling you that I have got legitimate concerns for the goalkeeper as well. What I'm saying to you is be fair around the whole analysis. Yeah, try and comprehend everything that's a factor in this before we lose our minds and start booing players. Yeah, because that's what we are capable of. I was there. I've been a season ticket holder for years as well. I've been a away season ticket holder for a few years as well. I remember Dan, and I always mention this story because it's just so apt, but Dan Harding signed from Ipswich. And for whatever reason, the fans just took a bad turn into him. And he was on the same side as Matt Kilgallen. Matt Kilgallen were a Leeds boy. Dan Harding was this kind of posh boy from down south. And he just got pelters from the fans for every mistake. Yes, most of the mistakes were Matt Kilgallen's alongside him. And he was the golden boy because he was a Leeds boy. So, I just want to make the point on this because I don't have a poor opinion of the fan base. I think the fan base are probably the best in the world. I'm talking about the the vocal minority online, which then becomes a bit of a tidal wave.
Yeah.
And I'm also addressing some of the content creators that clip up stuff for clickbait, because they've got a responsibility to try and, I think, always err on the side of positivity. And that doesn't mean that we're you know, what's the word for it when you're like
kind of
forever positive,
kind of like
like I'm happy, not an happy clapper. I would never consider myself an happy clapper, but you've got to be on the side of your players. Yeah, like some of the fans that I speak to online are vitriol of anger towards Brendan Aronson. They despise him because he's American and because he left on loan. That's it.
Yeah. Well, the perfect example, Jay, is when it was profligated online about Farker and subs, and you know, people get so angry. You had the guy running on the pitch at Farker.
Right.
I mean, you know, that's where it can lead. I think, you know, now we should all be able to take a step back and go, actually, we don't need to, like you say, get into this mode of like vitriol, hate toward, you know, let's not get whipped up into that. There's no need to. We don't need to get whipped up into that.
Okay. Coming back to Derby.
Yes.
I want to try and keep it on topic as much as possible. I agree with you. I think it's a great opportunity for us to rest the squad. It's been hectic and the lads have done extremely well. I still like to win the game. I have made the difficult decision to say that I will go out for a carvery while the game's on Sunday.
I might not get to see it either.
I'm secretly fuming because I hate missing any game. But if I'm going to miss one, it's probably best that it's this one. So
do you do that thing? Sorry to interrupt, but do you do that thing where you kind of agree to it in advance and you think, oh, it won't be a problem, but then when it gets closer to the day, you're like, why did I agree to this?
I mean, truthfully, Browney, I very rarely agree to it. The family know that I watch the game for a couple of hours at the weekend, and then we can plan everything else around it, which is an inconvenience. I am very grateful.
That's us. That's absolutely. That's what I'm about.
That's it. So I do hope we win the game. A second string should be able to get us through that game, but we've seen that it's not always that simple against Sheffield Wednesday earlier on the season. I do think we'll be in a slightly different place to that, and I would imagine that anybody coming into the starting lineup now will be able to kind of compute the system and play well. I don't think he'll play 5-3-2 though. I think he'll play 4-2-3-1 against a weaker opposition. I think that's what he'll end up going back to. But it'll be an opportunity for Willie Gnonto. It'll be an opportunity for Sean Longstaff to get fitness back in his legs, Metcher to get back up to fluency. It'll be an opportunity for Bornau to get more game time. Caldalo probably will come in and be able to try and stake a claim. So it'll be a good opportunity for some. Can
I just say, not to drudge up what we were just talking about before, but I went to the Millwall game. I think that was last season, wasn't it? In the FA Cup, and it was it was a horrible game. That was Ramazani, Gnonto, Joseph, I believe, as well. That was their big opportunity. They weren't getting starts at the time. It was a huge opportunity, and they stunk the place out.
Yeah, I remember.
So it's see what happens. Maybe Harry Gray. Could we see Harry Gray get a few minutes or something? That'd be quite exciting.
I reckon you could take him off the bench. Yeah. I reckon you could take him. I don't think Calvert-Lewin will leave and be in the squad, if I'm honest. I think he'll probably be left out completely, and he should. Metro will start, but then you've got Pirro as well. I mean, Pirro probably is due a start.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. It will be interesting. I'd like to see the 5-3-2, if I'm honest, or the 3-5-2, and keep going with it. The problem with it is you're then left with like Sam Byron playing left wing back or Jack Harrison playing left wing back, and Gabby might just play. They might just keep wheeling Gabby out there.
Well, he's one that I don't want to see this weekend because
I agree.
That guy has clocked up. I'd love to know his kilometres that he's racked up this season. It must be something else. Just to finish on this point as well, because it's nice to kind of come to some kind of agreement here, Paul. We will never understand how people forgive Gnonto so fast after going on strike, but Brendan gets stick because he wanted to go to a club in Champions League on his full wage. So I 100% agree on that.
I don't ever want to come across as like being aggressive, Paul, because I just talk with chest. I just say it as I really see it. You're not going to get any kind of diluted, watered down version from me. I respect your opinion 100%. I would just always ask any fan to err on the side of support to the team rather than Lucas Perri's a busted flush. Like, oh, he's horrendous. Like, let's just look at all the things in minute detail that he's done wrong. I saw somebody picking apart the Saka goal that gets blasted at him, and it's like it goes over his shoulder. Like, you can't even manipulate your arm to get there as fast as it went. And it's like, come on, let's not do this. These are our players, you know? So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, indeed. Just a quick mention on Derby in the Championship. Obviously, we don't care about the Championship too much, but they're not doing too bad. They came up, didn't they? Is this their first or second season?
This might be their second. I think this is their second.
So they're mid-table. They're kind of sitting nicely there. There is a bit of a historic element with Derby as well, isn't there? There's a bit of needle there, so it would be nice to do it. But I won't be getting excited about the FA Cup until a couple rounds down. What I would say though is, you know, this busy period will kind of ease up for us. And then, you know, if you've got a week, you know, an FA Cup, you know, those FA Cup weekends where you've kind of got the week rest, it would be nice to kind of stick around and see what we can do, but certainly not at the expense of players' fitness. Like I say, I want DCL like away. Yeah. I don't even want him like near the ground. I just want him like just leave him at home. Yeah. You know, I think he'll play Ampadu, but I'm so nervous around Ampadu as well. And Gabby, as we've mentioned, just give those guys a rest. But yeah, that my main thing for this is no injuries.
Certainly play Ampadu. I think even more so because he missed the Manchester United game. I think he plays, and I think he will keep it all together. And look, Leeds United are better for Ethan Ampadu being in the side, and it's only one game at the end of the day. Like, if he's going to get injured, he's going to get injured. Like, players get injured. So I hear you, and I want to make sure that the team stays as kind of risk-free from injury as possible. But there's got to be an element of the first teamers or the players that could start games being in that side as well. So it'll be interesting. It'll be really interesting. I think it'll be a good test. Going away to Derby, yeah, there's the underlying kind of feeling there. I want to see us win because I would like to keep momentum. Like, you don't want to lose to Newcastle and then lose away to Derby and then have question marks of has the form gone out the window altogether and all that. Yeah. So especially given the fact that they're a second tier side and we're a top tier side, so you still want to win this game ideally. And you're right, like a few weeks, in a couple of months, you're in the fifth round quarterfinals and all that, right, starts kicking in. It starts becoming a nice distraction from any potential stress that we're under. You know, the final's not that far away. We could book a time at Wembley, and we've shown ourselves to be competitive against everybody apart from Arsenal so far. So who knows? You know, like,
I was going to say, yeah, with that level of competitiveness, you never know. Farke versus Eustace as well. Jay, we know that's been a bit one-sided, hasn't it? That one, like Gav says, hopefully Farke's first win against him. Jan has put in a team. Darlow, Justin Bornau, Biyol, Ampadu, Tanaka, Nonto, Peru, Nemecha, Okafor, Gruev.
I don't think that's probably going to be far off what it'll be. Yeah. Bogle might play if he's back because he's missed the last two. And given James Justin's injury history, you might see a swap there. But I will Ampadu play in the back line? I doubt it. I think it'd be more likely a back two, with then maybe like Perri in the 10, and Ampadu in midfield. But maybe he plays Ampadu in the back line. I don't think he will, but maybe he will.
Yeah, maybe he could do. Just before we finish up, Leeds United, Ellen Road's redevelopment. Planning permission, it's been approved. It will be happening. And I was thinking, God, this will probably, I mean, in terms of major work, well, this will be we sold David Batty in, I think, 93, 94, and that paid for the East Stand expansion. But apart from that, in my lifetime as a Leeds fan, we've not seen any major redevelopment at Ellen Road. And, you know, it feels like you're going up into another bracket then, does it? I mean, 53,000, it'll be potentially going up to, I don't know how long it'll take, but it's going to go ahead now. It's green-lit, it's happening. And hopefully, you know, with us keeping our Premier League status, club is just going to be up and up, and that's a massive part of it.
Yeah, it's a massive 6 months for Leeds United, or 5 months to the end of the season. Massive. Yeah. You know, the way that the trajectory of the club and the stature of the club and the status of the club will be very much dictated on where we finish over the next 5 months. As long as we stay up this season, I have real faith and confidence that we can establish ourselves over the next couple. I still don't think the next couple of seasons will be swimming. You're still going to see a situation in which we're probably in and around the bottom 7, I would say, but it'll look more comfortable. We'll be in that next bracket of team, I would hope, as opposed to the one in this bracket where they could still be caught. So, great news, mate. Big news, and fingers crossed it all goes to plan.
Yeah, exactly. It seems to be years, doesn't it? Years and years we've heard about it, and it's like, you hear something's been approved, and then it's like, well, why isn't it started? Then something else has to be approved. It just goes on and on, doesn't it?
I can't profess to have worked at that kind of high level of building planning and stuff like that, but I've worked within organisations that I know what it looks like. It's tricky. There's so many different permutations and things that you have to work around and things that you have to wait for. And we know as just mere minions how difficult it can be to get an answer from like the tax man or like wherever, the tax office. You know what I mean? Like, it's difficult, let alone trying to build on top of a stadium like Ellen Road. It just must be an absolute minefield.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. Okay, well, we'll leave it there. And thank you, everyone who's joined us this morning and got your comments in. Really appreciate that. Some lively debate there. If you've not done also, please like the video, get subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell as well, because like I say, me and Jay, we always try and do a Thursday or Friday morning, usually Thursday, but sometimes it'll be Friday. And of course, we'll be getting our match reactions in as well. Plus, you've got the other lads and their shows as well, so stay tuned for that. But I've been Stephen Brown, joining me as ever, Jason Booker. Thank you, mate.
Thank you, mate.
And we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.